Hello there, welcome to another show. As you can probably see, I'm going a very experimental route today. I'm going for something a bit different, which is perfect to talk about Groundhog Day. A very simple film that is quite deep when you look into it. It's one of those ones that came across a good gimmick when you heard the story, then you saw the film and was like, well, this is really cool. It came out in the early 90s. I remember I was a film student when it came out, and it was a big hit. People really went wild for it. But it's one of those films that actually just kept going throughout its many years. People always find something new in it, even though the premise is very simple. But it's a premise that keeps on getting redone by other people, but never quite as good as what they did with Groundhog Day. Now, Groundhog Day was originally written by Danny Rubin. Then Harold Ramis came on to it and he rewrote a lot of it and simplified it, made it more of a character study. He brought in Bill Murray because they'd been doing Ghostbusters together. And this is a film that actually was their peak artistically, but it was also the film that actually made them fall out for years and years. They were only really reconnected just before Ramis died. So this was a difficult film for many people, but it was a worthy film, because people felt like they were finding something interesting and new and strange. There was just something about this film that really got to people, because it was both simple and it was complicated. Now, the simple thing is a guy living the same day of his life again. That's almost a sketch thing. That's like a sketch idea that you could do in SNL and it would be funny for a few minutes and that'd be it. What the film actually does is actually just commits to the premise and actually just starts to look into what you can actually do with this premise beyond the original jokes. So it's careful to spread the big jokes out over the whole film. Like it looks into the depression, it looks into the idea that everything feels futile, it looks into the nihilism of the situation, it looks into the funny parts of the situation. It covers it all. So it starts off with Bill Murray as Phil Connors, basically he's a weatherman who goes with his cameraman and is a producer to cover Groundhog Day, which is Groundhog Day is an event that they cover every year, which is this groundhog will come out and suggest either 6 more weeks of winter or not, depending on what it sees, what happens with it, what's going on. So you have 6 more weeks of winter or you don't. Now, for the film, we have to go by the idea that there's something supernatural about it. There's something weird, and the Bill Murray character has annoyed the supernatural elements within this area in some way, so they're going to curse them by being so misanthropic, so demeaning to everybody, so horrible. Or it could just be random. You never know why it happens to them. They never explain it. I mean, there's other films like Palm Springs and Edge of Tomorrow that have explanations of why it happens, and Happy Death Day. There's a lot of really good films taking this idea, because it's obviously an idea that you can do a lot with. But this one is when it didn't tell you how it happens, why it happens. It just happens. He just wakes up every morning, the same time, 6 o'clock, and he has to go through the same day, which is to go to the event, be the cameraman, be the weatherman for it, comment on the fact that it's 6 more weeks of winter, and then get snowed in this town because of a weather situation that he forecast would never happen. So that's his fate. That's what he has to deal with. That's what he's going for. That's what he happens to deal with every day. And the first couple of days he's freaked out, but it's very subtle the way the film works. The film's all about how do you react to this. Like, these same people you keep on seeing every day, and you know exactly what they're going to say. You know them by habit. You don't know them, you just know their habits. So you run into someone you went to school with, and you know them by their habit and the fact they're annoying. You know them by, you know certain people in the town by their habits, but you don't know them, you just know them by their habits. and it just feels very paranoid to him, and it feels very weird to him. Then as this situation continues, he tries to exploit it. Like, he knows when there's a bank is transferring money out, so he knows how to steal the money, so he can go crazy for a day and buy whatever he wants. He knows how to pick up the local tart, basically, and find out information about her one day, then use it the next day to make him sound like he, like as if I've known each other for years. That's the kind of thing that he does. He's very cynical about it. Then, as the film goes on, that isn't good enough for him after a while. It starts to really grate on him. He starts to feel like every day is the same. He's trapped here, just like everyone else in the town ultimately. And they all feel the same way in the town, but he sees them every day the same way, and they'll never progress, and he's just stuck there. So of course it goes to the nihilism, the suicide, and that doesn't work either. Suicide doesn't work. He kills himself and he's back where he started next morning. Exactly where he started. There's no change, there's nothing. He is back where he started. So he has to keep going and keep going and keep going, no matter what. He tries to romance Andie MacDowell, who's his producer. He gets information from her day in, day out, and eventually finds out what she's like. He starts to like her, but he's tried to get her in bed, and that's not the right way. It's never going to work. And he gets more and more desperate, and he keeps failing again and again and again. And he finds that that's not the right way to approach her, or anybody. He just has to find a way through this, and he's not finding anything. Everything he does, whether nihilism or romance or anything, just feels wrong to him. It just doesn't work for him. So the nihilism of the situation is just draining him from any kind of life. He's just find it very difficult to move on, very difficult to find any kind of pattern to his life that he can stick to. And the only pattern he ever really sticks to is learning from the people around him, actually getting to know them a bit better than the simple little habits they eventually saw, the simple little sayings they've got, and actually start to see them as people rather than the little things you can easily mock. He starts to see them as people who actually have lives and who have ambitions and who have problems, and you start to see him bond slowly with these people and just find some sort of meaning to his life through talking to them and through interacting with them and through just his way of trying to help them, try to deal with talking to the local drunk, talking to the people who have dead-end jobs that they can't get out of and they feel depressed with their lives. You get to talk to the people who work in shops and stuff. You don't see that, but it's implied by the interactions. And it just becomes this story of a guy learning to talk to people. Rather than talking at them, he's learning to talk to people. I mean, there's a lot of supernatural shenanigans going on that he can never figure out, because it's almost like they've set this one thing off and everything else is just the way life would be, but everything feels supernatural just by the constant repeating of the day. So he's banging his head against a wall, trying to figure it out. Everything feels wrong, but just by learning to talk to people, he actually finds some meaning in his life, something that he can get through his day with, something he can figure out as his way of getting through life. So that's how the film progresses. So it's the kind of thing is it a nihilistic film or is it a hopeful film? And it's kind of both. It's kind of like the futility of ambition, but the need for ambition to get ahead. It's about double-edged swords and about the duality of life, because you need to aspire to something which a lot of people in this town have lost their ability to do, but you also need to actually have decency and actually be able to talk to people and find some meaning within the smaller elements of your life, which is something he has completely lost, and which, so he's at one end of the spectrum, the people in the town at the other end of the spectrum, of course they're going to clash. But just by being stuck with them, he starts to see their virtues. He doesn't lose all of his, sarcasm, which is Bill Murray, but he learns to be a lot kinder, a lot more understanding of people. He understands what they are, what they're about. And he starts to do things for genuine reasons rather than seeing what can this get me. Because it's almost like, well, he's given up trying to find a thing to exploit, and he just starts to let enjoy people, enjoy their quirks, and enjoy their ambitions, and find a new level to exist in. So it's nice and ambiguous. It's kind of almost like a story of your life, where it's almost like a man going from being an ambitious person to being a content person, and he has to go through hell to do it because he's so egotistical and so self-centered and so into himself, and so he doesn't see the futility of his earlier ambitions. Like, he's trying to get to another place for no reason beyond he wants to get somewhere else because he doesn't like people he's with and he thinks they're all idiots. And he never learned to talk to them, and that's kind of the big thing of the film. It's learning to talk to people, learning to understand people and get on with people, which is something that he needs to learn. But it just doesn't bang it home. It's like, this is what you get through the film, through the drama. It's not like he's the big speech telling you that. It's just like his interactions tell you that. His way of dealing with things tell you that. So it's a very interesting film that doesn't speechify or be smug about it. It's just like, you learn through the story of what it's about. But it's an ambiguous enough concept. You can work out your own view of why did he change. Was it the sense of futility? Was it an ambition below the surface for something more that he had repressed so much he had to go through hell to get to it? It's like, he doesn't tell you, he doesn't ever explain anything or why he changes, but he seems to live this thing in life a long time. He seems to go through this hell constantly for a very long time, and he also has to burn through all of his excesses. But it allows you to figure it out for yourself. So there is a sense of futility in life, but also a sense of joy in life throughout the film, which is, I think, why it's so sweet to film. I think you get a sense of it's a sweet film because it embraces the darker side of human nature and darker side of futility of your ambitions to try and find something else. But it doesn't say that any ambition's bad. It doesn't say that this town is perfect. The town's not perfect. The town's got lots of things that would irritate you. But it's just getting beyond the initial judgmentalism you would have towards the town, just like the Bill Murray character has. So Groundhog Day is a terrific film. It's a very unique and weird film that, even though it's been influenced, highly influential in a lot of films since then, it's never really been better. This is the perfect film of this type. And it's Harold Ramis's best film by a mile. He never get anywhere near as good as this again. I mean, he made some good fun films before and after it, but this was his peak. This was the one that he was like, all the good stuff in his arsenal all went to this film without the excesses, because sometimes he could be a bit cartoony, he could let the plot wander around. This was a plot that could allow him to wander around to his interests, but also to keep him online, to keep going towards something that was of service to the story. So it was a perfect story for him. It was a perfect story for him to, you know, use all his talents towards. And again, with Bill Murray was the same way. It's like, that's one of his best films. It allowed him to kind of, he'd been trying to find a kind of deeper, because he was a comic actor that everyone adored, but he was trying to do something deeper. This is the first film that kind of allowed him to do that. And then he tried it before, but this is the first success, and slowly moved into doing sort of more indie films and darker films, while still being Bill Murray. So this was a big, important point for him. This is a big thing that actually pushed him forward to the second half of his career. Andie MacDowell's fine in it. A lot of supporting actors, there's a good lot of supporting actors in it. A lot of faces you'll have seen many times before. So it's a very enjoyable film. And I hope you enjoyed my little talk about it. I hope you enjoyed my little weird visualization. I thought it'd be interesting to try and do it for this film, because it was a bit a mad situation, and I just thought it'd be fun to try it. So I hope I'll be back soon with another video. Bye for now.